Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 120. I'm Evan.
I'm Jim.
And we've got quite a bit on the plate today. We're going to download you guys about Rhode Island Comic Con. We're going to get into some movies. We've got some interesting topics to throw at each other as well. How you doing, Jim?
Doing okay. Doing all right. How about yourself?
Good. I'm tired.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, a lot goes into going to these cons.
They absolutely do.
So we finished Rhode Island Comic Con this last weekend.
Yep.
What a blast, though.
Yeah.
What a blast. I mean, being a fan of all this stuff and then also being able to be a part of it, you know, and then meeting other fans and them kind of vibing with what we're doing is just, it's the secret sauce to all this. Like, it really, really hits. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Got to meet some celebrities, got to meet a ton of you guys, some fans and everything. And even just walking around and seeing what everybody else is doing kind of gives us ideas for the future. It inspires us to kind of go harder and be better. And it's, it's just a great experience.
Yeah. Well, you know, you feed off the passion of the fans that are there, and it makes you want to not only, you know, again, work harder, but, you know, just double down on your own fandom of what's going on. And it just, you know, when you look around, you know that it's right. You know that it's the feeling of, yeah, this is right. This
right.
was worth doing.
It feels good.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I felt that way Sunday night driving home.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, it's a job at the end of the day.
Just like,
but,
oh my God,
right.
dude, I'm getting old. Like this is just.
I hear you.
But yeah, no, great experience. Have you seen anything?
I have. I got a couple for you.
Oh, man.
And I'm going to start with one that we talked about. You had mentioned it. I hadn't seen it yet. I've seen it now.
Okay.
And I will say I felt it, and you know, talking about getting old, maybe this is my old age becoming very cynical, right?
Okay.
So I saw Weapons.
Oh, no, you didn't like it?
I found it very meh.
Really?
I really didn't enjoy even close to what people have said about it. Yourself included, because I know you were high on it when you had reviewed it
I thought
a few
it was
weeks
a great
back.
Film.
I didn't much care for it.
Was it the structure of it?
So I liked the Pulp Fiction way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I liked that.
Okay.
Right, that I enjoyed.
All right.
What I didn't like is the overall story, right? Like, did you find it underwhelming? Is that what it was? Yeah, like, okay, so it's a witch that's looking to stay young, kind of, and just sucks power from people, and
so I
wow.
I get where you're coming from there, because I think for me as well, like, you know, the baddie in Weapons, you are kind of like, although very, very memorable in the way that she looked, as we saw for Halloween, there were a lot of people going as Gladys.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I think, like, overall, you know, it's very terrestrial. It's very, you know, not as big of a threat as maybe we all thought, given what was happening. And
right.
So I can understand where you're coming from there. I think for me, what really, like, the Pulp Fiction aspect of it hits.
Yeah, I
really
liked
well.
that. I
really
enjoyed
liked that. And I like that as you kind of go for the ride, the picture becomes clearer and clearer and things like that. I also really liked the humor at the end.
Yeah, although I thought it was a little bit campy, like, you know.
Let me tell you why it worked for me, right? Is because it felt like, at least on my first watch through, right, there was a tension there, right? And it was building and building. And ultimately, the height of the tension is when they're in the house, right? And the danger is over as soon as the boy breaks the twig.
Right.
Right. So as a movie watcher, right? And again, I watched it twice to kind of go through it again. And as a movie watcher, I think the reason why the humor works so well for me is because the tension is, as soon as that twig snaps, the tension is broken.
Sure.
And, you know, instead of it being this thing where, you know, like in Friday the 13th, the original, where she's sitting on the water and then you get that final scare, it's like, no, the tension, like, it's over. Like,
Right.
we've had our sort of confrontation with the big baddie. And the reason the humor works is because instead of just kind of going back to a neutral place after the tension breaks, he brings you to a place of joy. You know, it was so funny to watch her run past the building, and then the kids are screaming, and the audio is far away, and it'll like cut. And I was like, oh, that works so well, because like I was so tense. The tension's clearly over. They've clearly won. And instead of just bringing me back to calm or neutral, you're giving me the opposite end of it.
Yeah, it was. I think it went a little too like again. I know you got to stretch it out a little bit. I mean, obviously, young kids would have caught her within a millisecond.
Yeah, of course.
But I think you stretched it a little bit too long. Like it went, I think, a little bit too long. But
yeah, you probably could have cut 30 seconds out of it. I just think for me, that's just something that I don't know I've seen before.
Yeah, I'll tell you this though. What's her name? Julia Gardner.
Who played
the blonde that was the teacher?
Yeah.
I don't like her.
Just in general?
I mean, I saw, we talked about Wolfman a little while back, and this is the second movie now I've seen her in that I just don't like her. I don't like her as an actress. I just don't think she's good. I just don't like her acting. Not her personally. I don't, again, know her personally. I mean, acting-wise, I'm just not a fan.
It's tricky for me because it seems like in every role, I mean, obviously Fantastic Four aside, right? But like in every role, like especially in this horror sort of genre, that she kind of plays an unlikable character.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Like, she could be a great actor.
Yeah, possibly.
That just plays that character. Because, again, I don't think you're supposed to be rooting for her in Weapons. No. Like, she's kind of a piece of shit.
She is a piece of shit.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think she nails that.
Yeah, no, she does.
So I don't know if it's just...
And it could be. It could be just the role that she's portraying.
Because even in Wolfman, she was kind of a shitty mother.
Yeah.
So it's like
it might be that.
I don't know if she's but I don't have enough exposure and experience to her to be like.
And you're right. It could very well be that. But here's the thing I didn't like.
Okay.
Right. So Josh Brolin is a pillar of the community.
Right.
He's been there lived there for a long time.
Business.
Right. Knows everybody. Right. They're going through the map, and he's got the ruler out, and he's like, well, I just can't figure out. And then Julia Garner, oh, that's what was it, Adam? That's Adam's house. You're telling me this fucking guy, all the kids are missing. All the kids are missing except one kid.
Hold on.
And you're going to tell me you don't know where that kid lives?
Yeah, but you have to look. It's never going to be airtight.
Yeah, but
right?
that to me.
Yeah, but that was enough to pull you out of the movie. You're crazy, dude. No way.
Because again, you gave that was ridiculous.
I don't disagree with you. It's a little ham-fisted. It definitely is an unnecessary plot point but it allows them to come together.
Yeah,
right?
I get it, but I mean, but see, to me, it was you had a weak story to begin with a meh story of this is just a witch with no real motivation of anything other than
I think ultimately
just to
that's
stay alive.
Yeah, but I think that's what makes it so good is that it's not anything more than that. It's just like this bad shit rolled into town.
Yeah, but it's like, but it was, I don't know. I didn't like the story. I didn't like I didn't, and that, to me, when you had a mess story, and then you add that piece on top of it that was just, like you said, ham-fisted into it, and then I think the comedy at the end went too long. It just, to me, didn't work. It just did not work for me. I don't know what it is, but I'm not saying I hated the movie, and I'm not saying it's not worth a watch.
It just didn't hit you the way it hit. Well, you're wrong. Your opinion is wrong.
That's, I guess that's accurate.
The rest of us have come together. Here's the thing: is that,
and I'm in the minority. I fully acknowledge that.
But the reason I love discussing films with you so much is that, if you don't like something, you're not just going to be just because it has a 90 on Rotten Tomatoes. Like you're like, I don't like it.
Right.
And I think why it works for me is, number one, he's a young director, right? And this is an experimental movie.
Sure.
And I want directors to take those kind of risks.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Do I think it's a perfect film? No, not even close. I think there's weird elements that I don't really understand. I didn't like that scene with the AK-47 above the house.
Right.
Yeah, there's stupid shit in it, but there's also real moments that I like. Like I like the dream sequence, right? Where Josh Brolin wakes up and he just goes, "What the fuck?" Because that to me is just like, yeah, that's what anybody would do. Anybody would. That's how anyone would react.
Yeah.
And, again, I get what you're saying about Gladys not being, maybe a greater evil, because ultimately she was just a witch. We don't get any explanation from where the witch came from or what the significance of the tree was. But I think it worked for me, and I don't know that I would want to see a sequel.
No, I wouldn't.
I think as a standalone, it works, right? It's bad shit rolled into town, bad shit happened, and we got our conclusion, the end. I don't want to see a sequel where the order we have to learn about Gladys's coven and all that bullshit.
Yeah, and I fear that we will.
Yeah, I mean, it's Hollywood at the end of the day, so I'm sure we will. But and again, I really like the Pulp Fiction
that
style
part of it. I liked that. I did like.
It confused me initially. I was like, I don't really understand what's going on. And then it's like, oh, we're jumping back and forth in time. Right. And ultimately it all kind of comes together, very Pulp Fiction-esque. I personally, I like the humor because, like I said, I think I can't remember another horror, and I'm not talking like Evil Dead or anything like that. I can't remember another horror movie that can break the tension so on the nose with the breaking of that branch, and then instead of just letting you get back to a neutral state, bring you to I was laughing. I thought it was fucking hilarious. I was like, this is really funny.
Yeah. And
I mean, the thing is that at first I was like, I think on my first watch through, I was like, this is kind of ridiculous, right? That was my initial thought, is it's kind of ridiculous. And then as I kind of sat with it, I was like, no, it's really smart because as a viewer of the film, instead of letting me go neutral at the end, which is what most horror films do, like the end of Nosferatu, right? Like the sun comes up and you're at a very neutral, maybe a little despair, but ultimately you're at a neutral place. I think the genius of adding that sort of funny element at the end is like you're pulling out an emotion that I never expected to have watching this film, and it's like, oh, that's really different. That's the mark of someone that's real experimental, because
and the thing is, like, again, I agree with you. Like, I want to see directors take those chances and make movies like this that do unique things, and even if it doesn't necessarily hit with me completely, I would rather see that than a cookie cutter movie that just like, it was meh, not because it was bad. There was elements of it I didn't like that threw me out of the experience of it all, but I don't want it to be homogenized. Right. I want him to keep doing this type of stuff.
You think maybe once he gets a little longer in the tooth, something executed in
I
a
think
similar
he's on
vein.
the right path
I agree.
of what he's
I
doing.
agree.
And it may not have hit necessarily for me on this one, but I don't want him to stop
Right,
going down
maybe
this path.
the flavor's there, but
Yeah.
the substance wasn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. But
I can see that.
But let me tell you what had substance
Oh.
so I saw Frankenstein.
I have not seen it yet.
So I'm not going to get into it because it's brand new anyway.
Okay.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
It's Del Toro.
But it's everything.
Everything
It's
you want.
everything. Now, you know, anybody that's listening, if you're unaware and haven't seen it, if you are familiar with the Universal Monster Frankenstein movie, this is not this.
No, this is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Right. Now, it does deviate some
Okay.
from the book,
Okay.
but it's nothing like the Universal Frankenstein movie. And again, I'm a giant Universal monster guy.
Sure.
Right? Absolutely love them. This was something so.
Would you equate it to because I haven't seen it yet,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the vibe that I get from it is very Robert Eggers' Nosferatu.
It's about 10 degrees higher.
Really?
Yeah.
So we're talking about high art.
Very high art.
Yeah.
Very, very depth of character.
'Cause that's the one thing I think Universal, and again, it was made when it was made, and it
Yeah.
was made for who it was made for. But if you look at the text of Frankenstein, right, that monster is a deeply feeling character.
Right. This movie really portrayed what the book portrayed, which is Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein is the monster.
Right.
And the monster is humanity.
Right.
Just trying to find his way
Right.
in the world.
Right.
Didn't want to, didn't ask to be here, but I'm here now. And,
It's always funny when, you get those people that say, like, oh, Frankenstein, when you're talking, oh, Frankenstein wasn't even the monster. And it's like, for any of us that love this stuff, it's like, no, he was.
yeah.
Frankenstein was absolutely the monster. Like,
Absolutely.
did you read the book?
Right.
Like,
And again, there's a few deviations.
sure. But I mean,
But
I think where Frankenstein has been done to death at this point, and we've gotten every single iteration, I think getting something that's maybe, and from what I've heard, this is the truest to the text we've
Yep.
probably ever gotten. If he's going to take some liberties, then he's going to take them.
right.
Especially if they're for better. I don't know if you would say they were or they weren't.
I'd say I can't say it's better or worse. It's just different, right?
Okay.
I don't know that you could say it was better, and I can't say that it was a mistake by doing it. It's just there were certain things that he decided to change that, I'll give you a quick one, which isn't going to be a spoiler, right?
Okay.
So, in the movie, right, when the monster is reincarnated,
Right.
he doesn't have a lot of knowledge, right? He's like a child, right, and he has to learn. In the text, he's fully formed,
Right. He just comes
on
up,
day
right.
one.
He wakes up and he's just a man.
You're right. He has all the knowledge in the world, right? Whereas in this, it's more like the 1930s Frankenstein, where he's a monster, right?
Right.
And he's got to learn.
I get what you're saying.
So again, is it better or worse? No, it's just he just chose to
It's a
make
story,
that choice.
Right. And it may be one of those ones that it's just like, well, this will kind of almost in a way beat my message over the audience's head a little bit, but it's what I need to do to get you on the side of the
Right.
monster.
Now, I think that's why he chose to do it, is because it's you get more sympathetic for the monster,
Right.
and more angry at Frankenstein,
Right.
for being the monster.
Right.
So I get the choice. Again, could you have done it the other way too? Probably.
And it probably would have worked.
And it
but,
probably would have worked.
Again,
but again, he made that choice, and it's fine.
and
It works either way.
Just to be clear, because I know we harp on like staying super, religious to the source material, things like that, right? Where it is a small change. Sometimes, again, to appeal to a wider audience, or just to make it easier to get on the side of the monster, you make the change, right? You're not straying so far away from the source that it's its own thing at this point, but it is a change.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think it's more palatable to the people that aren't familiar with the book, because wouldn't it make more sense for him to have to learn as opposed to be fully formed the second he's reincarnated, right? So at the end of the day,
I get it.
I think it makes more sense to the wider audience that don't know the text. So I can see why he made the choice, right? But again, I think he would have made it work either way.
Right. But that's just one of those changes that maybe is made to appeal to a wider audience, that you don't sit there and go, well, he shouldn't have done that. It's like, well, it's a small enough detail in the book. Does it fundamentally change the story we're trying to tell? Not really, but does it make it easier to get on the side of the monster? And yeah. So, a change like that to me is not sacrilegious.
Right. No, absolutely. And I don't think really any of the changes he made would be deemed so. But just visually.
Oh, I mean, it's a Del Toro movie.
But it's one of those things where you could just put it on mute and watch it, and you just be mesmerized by just how beautiful the movie is.
There's really something to be said about, his films, Hellboy to a maybe to a slightly lesser extent, because whatever. But I mean, even when you look at like Pan's Labyrinth, I mean, that is a visually stunning film. And then you even take it a step further with Crimson Peak, and it's like, is Crimson Peak the best story? No, it's good, it's fine.
Right.
But visually, it's just on a whole different level. His aesthetic is just so unique, and he leans into practical effects, which is a rarity.
Yes.
And I just think Del Toro is in a league of his own when it comes to stuff like that. Maybe he's not making the greatest films of all time or anything like that, but like just as someone from an aesthetic standpoint, he's up there. I mean, there aren't too many guys that are.
No, and I've seen people complaining about it. The usual people will complain about it, but I mean, this to me is one of those where, do I think it's movie of the year? Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I would say.
Wow.
I would say that if this movie was in theaters, it would have grossed the most money out of any movie that came out this year.
I think it's interesting too, because like back-to-back years, we get Nosferatu, visually stunning, very high art, fantastic performances, and now we have Frankenstein. So we don't have our Universal monsters,
right?
But we're getting our Universal monsters, but just in a high art,
and that's
Gothic Victorian.
And I think that is ultimately what the complaints are. Like, I just want, I'm a monster and I want to watch a monster movie. You know what I mean? I don't want to watch high art. Well, sorry, but that's not what these movies are. And if you can't appreciate them, they're not made for you, because if you can't understand what is being relayed and the character motivations and the struggles and just these people trying to get through in life in certain ways, you have to take that all in, and it's not just here come monster smash and monster do bad things and monster kill.
But
it's not that.
These aren't popcorn movies.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, right? having Dracula and the Wolfman and Frankenstein and the Universal, under the Universal lens, all of that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is very much, Godzilla X Kong versus Godzilla -1. Right. You can have both.
Yeah.
No problem. But there's a reason that these books have stood the test of time. There's a reason that these are, that you read these texts in high school and then you read them again if you're going into English majors in college and things like that. There's a reason for that. And to me, I would much rather sit down, be challenged, watch the high art, have the messages thrown at me, feel the emotions that these movies are trying to convey, whether they're good or bad, whether it's, sort of the despair of Nosferatu or, the longing and the hatred and the sadness that you get out of Frankenstein versus just, green guy with bolts in his neck. Brr.
Right. I mean, again, they both can exist, and there's certainly a place for both of them, and I enjoy both of them, immensely. But, and this was the same complaint back when Dracula with Gary Oldman came out, right? This is the same thing, right? It was more of a high art film than what you had seen before with Dracula, right? And so, again, what I don't understand, or what really blows my mind, is the books that were written about these characters are very high art, highbrow. These aren't stories of the lowest common denominator. And the movies that came out in the 30s, yeah, it played more to that because that's what they were going for. But by taking pieces and taking some elements of the books and then turning them into that, these are more representative of, these were stories of, emotional depth that, yes, they're monsters, but they're much more than that.
Right. There's longing. There's fear. There's hatred. There's love.
There's suffering. There's loss. There's grief.
And and it's just conveyed on a deeper level, at least in my opinion, when you stick closer to the Victorian texts.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost creates this thing where Nosferatu or Frankenstein from Del Toro, it's different. Like, it is far different than, say, the movie Monsters of the 30s. It's almost like it's
completely different.
It's almost a different IP, if we're being honest with each other, right? And not that there's anything wrong with that, and it's fine to take beats from, like, if you want to make a Frankenstein Universal, do it.
Right.
I think what's difficult for me is I don't know how you make a Dracula after Nosferatu came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you make a Frankenstein after Del Toro's Frankenstein came out and sell that to people. I'm not saying you can't, because it worked with Godzilla X Kong and -1. They came out within a year of each other.
Right.
And they both did really well. And they're both vastly, vastly different films.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I think that, that's almost like a victory for my side of the aisle, where I'm like, yeah, we got these gothic horror movies made before any of that popcorn shit came out.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. I mean, I don't know what I know Universal has plans for their monsters because they just rebuilt it into the theme park.
Right.
So clearly they want to do something with it. And now there's talk of a Mummy 4.
Yep. But, again, I think that I think that this to me is absolute must watch. Absolute must watch.
All
like
right.
I again, I could say, like with Weapons, hey, I say watch it. If you don't, you don't. I don't think you're missing much. I think you're missing some of the greatest cinema if you don't watch this Frankenstein.
Right, you're denying yourself.
Right. Absolutely. But how about you? What have you seen?
So I got two as well.
Okay.
So I watched a movie and a show.
Okay.
So I'll start with the movie. So I caught 28 Years Later.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I know people were... It caught a little grief for the ending, right? But when I finished the movie, I was like, oh, there's going to be a sequel. Because that's how it's set up, right?
Sure.
And then I look online and, like, the sequel's coming out in 4 months.
Oh, okay.
So, like, to me, I don't sometimes movies end on, like, a weird beat. Like, if there wasn't going to be a sequel, if there wasn't a sequel announced or it wasn't
Right.
already cut together and it was coming out, I get it. I would be like, what the fuck? Especially if you look at the 28 series. The first one came out, and then it was like 7 or 8 years later. The next one came out, and then fucking 20 years later,
Right.
the third one came out. So it's like, if you were going to do that to the people, I get that.
Sure.
But no, there's a sequel coming out in 4 months.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
The ending doesn't bother me because I'm like, all right, we're just going to pick up where
Right.
it left off.
Right.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was
Yeah,
good.
was it?
I
Okay.
mean, do I think it's the best? I think the first one is the best.
Sure.
The second one's very good. I think this one is on par with the second one. It's different because, again, it's a little more. It's geared more towards the future, right? It's been 28 years after the outbreak and all
Yeah.
that. I thought it was interesting to see, how the story went down. Ray Fiennes.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good.
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And overall, great watch. I mean, I don't want to hit spoilers and stuff, but I think knowing that there's a sequel, I got no issue with the ending, which is where I think everyone was getting caught up.
Yeah,
That's where I heard a lot of the grief
again,
was.
and that's probably based upon people not realizing that.
Which is strange to me because, like, they got filmed back to back. Like, this wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't a secret.
It was never. Yeah, it not only wasn't a secret, like, there was always a plan to drop these pretty close. I mean, because it came out this year.
Right.
And so you're getting another one in January. Like, there was no plan on making people wait for
Yeah.
part 2. So, I think it'll be interesting to see how he wraps it all up and everything. And there's possibility of a third movie depending on how the second one does. The first one did great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, are there parts I don't like? Sure. There's
Sure.
There's things that I'm like, I don't know if this really is in line with the world we've built and the rage virus and everything. But whatever. Overall, solid. I mean, if you like the 28 series, you'll like it.
Nice.
So
Nice.
And then, you know how I feel about this podcast. I think if we're going to shit on something, we should watch it.
Sure.
I don't think it's fair to just shit on something based on other people's
Absolutely.
opinions. So, in between getting ready for Rhode Island Comic Con, little series came out called The Witcher season 4.
Yes,
so
yes.
I sat down.
Oh, did you watch it?
I watched episodes 1 through 8. I watched the entire season 4. So let me hit you with my synopsis on that. So, first and foremost, Liam Hemsworth is Geralt, right? That's the biggest change. Here's what I'll say about it. I think if Cavill was never Geralt, he would have been fine.
Sure.
I don't think he was particularly bad in the role. I don't think there's a way to beat Cavill. But ultimately, he was fine. What I will give him over Cavill is I think he, in the fight scenes, because he's, Cavill, and I've said this from the beginning, if you read the source material and you play the games and all that, Geralt was always kind of a wiry guy.
Yeah.
And Cavill really bulked up for the role. And as a result of that, he's swinging that sword slow because he's got all these muscles, powerful but slow.
Right.
And that's really not how Geralt fights. Geralt fights like a dancer. It's almost like a ballerina, right? You're pirouetting, you're flipping around.
Yep.
And Helmsworth nails that.
Okay.
So that to me was real good. I was like, oh, these sword moves that Geralt is doing or how Geralt should move.
Okay.
So that I thought was on point, and I thought his performance was fine.
Yeah.
You know, they also did a race swap with Regis, the vampire, Lawrence Fishburne. Doesn't matter. Lawrence Fishburne, great
Yeah.
as Regis, does what you need him to do.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
all of that is fine.
yeah.
Where it fails again is just the lack of respect for the source material.
Sure.
It's still focus on the sorcerers, focus on, you know, all this political bullshit that nobody nobody wants to watch The Witcher for the witches.
Right.
That's not what we signed up for.
Right.
And that's a huge part of this. And at the end of the day, in the books, like Yennefer bringing together the Lodge of Sorceresses and everything, that happens, but it's a subplot. It's not the main plot.
Right,
and
right.
What Lauren Hitchrick did is she made it the main plot.
Yeah.
Right? Now the other element is you have Ciri branching off with the rats, right? And a lot of people were giving grief that Ciri ends up in a relationship with the leader of the rats, who's a female.
Right.
But that happens in the books.
Yeah.
So that's not against the source. Now, they softened how it happens because in the books it's a little more
Essay
a forced relationship that eventually becomes a relationship. But I had no problem. Again, you got to soften it for TV. Like, I'm okay.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, you and I have gone through, you know, anti-woke can go too far, and like it's
Right.
like you can't just hate it because there's two women kissing on the screen. If that's how it's written, fucking deal with it.
Well, again, but you can't then cry about the source material if the source material is accurate.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So like I have no issue there. Where the rats kind of lose me is you don't like them.
Right.
You're not rooting for them really. None of them are very interesting. None of the characters particularly stand out. And what ends up happening is they introduce a character called Leo.
Okay.
Now Leo is in the books, and he's like a bounty hunter, but he also hunts witchers, right? So
Okay.
he's a human, no mutations or anything like that, but he's like this fucking force. He hunts witchers, right? He wears all their medallions and everything. And it almost feels like a fuck you to the fans because he's so perfect. He's so fucking perfect in this show. It's like, why can you do that so right, but the rest of it so wrong?
Yeah.
And then ultimately, when he kills the rats, I'm rooting for the bad guy. I'm like, yeah, that was awesome. Like, look at this fucking guy. He's the best around, right?
Yeah.
And I shouldn't feel that way. I shouldn't. I should be mourning the death of the rats, and I don't. So that's another failure in the writing, right? So ultimately, I would say that this season is better than last season.
Yeah.
Because again, there's the conflict with Cavill that clearly shows up on the screen. Plus, they cut out a lot of Geralt last season,
Right.
so we got a lot more of Geralt in this season. I'd probably give it, if I'm being fair, maybe a 5.
Yeah.
I think there were elements that worked really well. I think though, you know, unless you were going to fix the writing, which again, they're pretty convinced that the way they're writing these things are the way to go, it doesn't work. And it just goes to show you that even when you get someone like Liam Hemsworth who's on board with the regime that's doing this, it doesn't fix the problems that caused Cavill to leave.
Right. Well, I mean, you had Hitstrich come out with her comment of, you have your Witcher in the video games and the books, and this is my Witcher, the way I want it done. And if you don't like it, I don't care, because this is my interpretation of it. I'm not holding true to the books or the video games, but if that's what you want, then you have those things to go to. And if you don't like this one because of that, then screw you. And it's like, well, I don't know why you're, and I've said this a billion times, we've talked about this a billion times, I don't know why you're alienating the fan base that has made this popular to begin with. Like, I just don't understand why your philosophy is, I don't care what you want, either take the slop that I'm giving you or fuck off. And based upon the ratings, everybody fucked off.
Right, and that's the thing, is you can, operating under the guise that you actually like this world, which I don't think you do.
No.
I think that this was just a vehicle for you to get a fantasy show made, and ultimately a huge payday from Netflix.
Right.
But operating in good faith that you actually like this material, if you want to tell your own stories, tell your own stories. Tell a subplot. Create new characters in the world. You can still tell stories within The Witcher without having to take what makes The Witcher great and contort it into this homunculus that you spit back out to us. It can be, you can tell subplots with sub-characters as long as you keep the core intact, because that's what brought people in the first place.
Right. And the problem is going to be that, even obviously the next season is the last, and Hemsworth is going to get just the 2 seasons and that's it. He's not going to be remembered for this, even though it's none of his fault. He's not going to be, he got a payday and that's all fine and dandy,
but he's also not. I don't think he's got, like, before we watched this, right? I was like, oh, this is a huge misstep in his. I don't think that's the case anymore. Like, after seeing what he brings to the table, you needed someone to replace Geralt. It's like you could just not have Geralt in the show, and I think he does that fine. I don't think there's any. There was no, he has a couple of lines where I'm like, Geralt wouldn't say that, or you delivered that wrong. But for the most part, it's like, yeah, you're kind of a nothing burger. Like, you're here, you're filling, you're the stand-in for Cavill.
Right, but that's exactly what you'll be remembered as.
Right.
The Cavill stand.
Maybe not negative, maybe not positive.
Yeah.
Like, Helmsworth was there.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is Anna Chortla, or whatever, however you say her, the chick who plays Yennefer. She's like, I was getting a lot of hate from the fans, and it's like, it's not you though.
Right.
Like, your interpretation of Yennefer was fine. It's not you. It's the writing that's causing the fans to revolt. Like, your performance was fine. You were fine. Ciri was fine. All of those elements were fine. It's just that when you start to insert the plot points is where it really falls apart.
Right. And that, is and with Hollywood in general, it becomes this fine line of, I hate the character and or I hate the actor, right? Because sometimes it's one or the other, right? Like, I don't think anybody personally has any issue with Yennefer, the actual actor. And I think once she goes over to DC, I think people are gonna, she'll probably be loved in that role.
Totally, because I don't think anyone is looking at her performance and going, yeah, that's the problem with The Witcher.
Right. So again, it's poor writing, and the character has been made to be disliked by the audience, that she gets a lot of backlash for that, which is undeserved.
Totally undeserved.
Whereas
I think as fans too, that's on us.
Yeah.
That's on us for again, you should not be like if someone is playing the part wrong, and the story is right, and it's just the wrong actor for the for the role, and you want to voice your opinion on that, that's fine. But I don't think anybody, and I'm sure there are people, right? But I think if the story was written well, she would have been a perfect Yennefer. I don't think anybody would have had an issue with that.
Yeah, again, it's not the Rachel Zegler, right? Obviously, people don't hate Snow White, but they hated her Snow White because of her.
Right.
Right? That was not the writing. That was what her completely...
Well, that was a bit of both.
Well, yeah, but I still think that the movie would have performed better had it been somebody else
you're right
in
on
that role.
You're right on that.
Not that it would have been good or even made money, but I think it would have been, like to Halle Berry's Little Mermaid. Instead of, $200 million, it would have made $600 million.
Right.
Still, again, it would have not done well because no one wanted a live action Snow White.
But the thing is that nobody memed Halle Berry.
Right. Right.
Halle Berry didn't become a meme.
No.
After Little Mermaid, and Rachel Zegler did after Snow White.
And the thing is, no one's even talking about her anymore as Little Mermaid. People still hate Rachel Zegler.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
As venomous now as it was then.
Well, the meme is still in the zeitgeist too.
Right.
Like it hasn't gone away.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's the thing is, I think that we as fans need to be more careful with how we critique things. So again, and if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that Witcher is one of my nearest and dearest properties. And it's been painful to have the opportunity for a big studio to take something that I love, throw all the money in it, and then ultimately what we get is what we got.
Right.
But I definitely don't blame Cavill because I think he's a fantastic Geralt. I don't blame Ciri or Yennefer or even Triss. I don't blame the actors. I think that for what they were given, they played the parts. And I can see sparks of how Yennefer should be and how Ciri should be and how Trish should be. And I'm like, okay, so if you were given the proper script, you are the right choice for the character. So no hate on the actors.
Right.
Where the hate comes is the people that are in charge allowed the writers to write this god-awful screenplay that diverts so far away from the source material that we're all kind of left scratching our heads.
Right. I think a perfect example of this is Ahsoka, right? Rosario Dawson is a great actor.
Yep.
Her as Ahsoka is awful. Awful. It's like she doesn't even know how to act. But we know she does. Right. So we know it's not her.
Right. And again, I'm not an actor, so I can't say one way or the other. But I imagine it must be very challenging not only to have to act, but to have to act to a shitty script.
Right. So, again, we know based upon, and again, we have lots of evidence to support Rosario Dawson as a great actor.
Right.
So when something like Ahsoka comes out and her performance is that flat and that horrible, you know that it's all based upon the writing and the creative that was the cause of that, because you have to, you can't say, well, she's been in 10 other movies where she's great.
Right.
And this one series where she's awful, so therefore she's awful. We know that it can't. We got to play the numbers game and say no, it can't be her. It has to be Lucasfilm.
And then where it really trips me up is, again, with the introduction of Leo, right? And you nailed it, and it's ripped right out of the book, right? Part of me goes, because he's such a side character, they didn't bother putting their spin on it,
Right.
right? And so what we got was something ripped from the book, and it's like it's just a you know, the essence of what we could have had. Like if you had just done this with the entire series, if you had just pulled from
Right.
the book, and again, it's Shirlito Copley plays the Leo.
Okay.
So you're getting a solid character actor playing him anyway. So you have a decent enough actor who's given a character where the source material is you know, that's all together, and clearly he can make it work, right? And it's one of the best parts of this season, and it just makes you go, damn, if you had just done this with the rest of the cast,
Right.
we could have really had something special, because there are those elements. Even Regis, very, very good, right? But again, it's had you not put your spin on it, everything that sucks in the show is because you put your spin on it.
Right.
And everything that works in the show is because you pulled it from the book.
Right. And that's ultimately what, you know, you're going to be remembered as a person who absolutely destroyed The Witcher. That's what's at the end of the day going to be when season 5 comes and goes. Your legacy is you're the showrunner who absolutely fumbled The Witcher beyond belief. That couldn't have been worse than what you did. And that's a shame. It's a shame because this should be such a hot property.
Yeah, and I think, you know, do I think The Witcher is dead? I'm going to say no.
Probably not.
Do I think it's on ice for at least 5 years? At least.
Yeah. Yeah, but you'd have to, you know, get a brand new team in there completely
right.
to prop it back up.
It needs to be scorched earth.
Yes.
Start from the beginning and really do what you can to make the source material work. Or if you don't want to rehash the books, you already have a relationship with CD Projekt Red because you did that cyberpunk anime. Tell the stories. Tell the stories as live action and roll that way. But
sure,
you know, it's frustrating to see, you know, that there are sparks even in season 4 of what could have been a fantastic Witcher TV show.
Yeah, and I think that you do go scorched earth. You wait a few years, and you reboot it, and I think the fan base would be there for you, and that's the key. I don't think the fans would abandon it if you say the right things upon its reintroduction, and you have the right team behind it.
Not just say the right things, because she came out saying all the right things.
Right, but I don't mean just, you know, the hollow bullshit of, you know, what she's saying. I'm saying, when I mean say the right things, is, you know, we are, you know, we're going to hold true to this, and then they're going to be held accountable for that. Like, get Netflix to...
We don't like what...
Yeah, like I'm saying get Netflix behind it to say, no. We are telling you we're not going to allow it to be, you know, we expect it, and we, you know,
we're not going to let what happened.
We're going to gatekeep a little bit here.
We're not going to let what happened with this Witcher happen again.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'd give it about a 5. I think, you know, it's sitting at like a 1.7.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a fair assessment. Like, again, part of why I like to do these with you is I don't like to grade it on emotion. Because, again, if I'm grading it, which is a dear property to me, and if I'm grading it on emotion, sure, I'd give it a 1. Like, how dare you do this to something I care about, right? But looking at it objectively, I would say that it's about a 5,
Yeah.
which is not a 1,
Right.
but it ain't a 7.
Right.
So that's where we're at with that. You got anything else for us?
Yeah. So I mean, and it all ties into this. So the last time we got together, right, and to play off what we just said, I made a point to say, again, not everything sucks, right? This is what we're talking about,
No,
right?
totally
Not
agree.
everything sucks. The caveat to that, though, is that doesn't mean it's good, right? We're talking about there are moments in some things that are
Witcher
bad.
season 4.
Right, exactly. There are some things that are good. It's not a good show overall.
No, but there are moments.
But there are moments, right? Sometimes, and that's what. And sometimes we have our own guilty pleasures too. And this is where sometimes I think that fans online get a little ridiculous. Because, like for instance, I like Howard the Duck, the movie.
Okay.
Not that but I know it's not good.
No, it's so bad it's good for you.
Right? Exactly. But I like the character. I like the comic, right? So I find some fun in the movie. But I know it's not good. And I'm not going to go on social media and pretend that it is. I can say I like it, but I know it's terrible. Like, you have to be honest.
Right, I like it like I like a stinky cheese.
Right. And so, all of a sudden there was this announcement from Adam Driver and director Steven Soderbergh that they had written a full script for a movie, The Hunt for Ben Solo.
I heard that.
So they had it all, and again, they came out and said it, so I'm going to speak to the fact of what they said. They said they had a writer, I forget her name. They wrote the entire script. Soderbergh was on to direct. We're in 2021. They presented it to Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm loved it. Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, they loved it. They actually bought the script from them for $3 million, brought it to Bob Iger because they wanted to put it into production, and Bob Iger said no. And Bob Iger said no because, well, Ben Solo is dead, and I don't understand how he would be back, and
How
therefore
he would be not dead, right.
I don't get it, so therefore we're not going to go forward. And then it was asked, hey, was ever a full script presented by Lucasfilm or was rejected? And the answer was no. It was never has things been rejected. So, again, all of a sudden, tens of fans came out and this became the thing, right? The new Acolyte, where now we have to have it, right? This was, this character is great, all the stuff we heard. So, Kylo Ren was not a great character. He was actually a horribly written character. Very little depth. There was some parts.
I think with Kylo, what we got was very shallow.
Right.
I think the idea of Kylo Ren is very interesting.
Right. There was tons but
But I agree with what you're saying. I think if we're just going by what we got on the screen, he's a very meh, at best character.
So,
I think the idea though of Kylo Ren, again, being both Leia and Han's kid as well as nephew to Luke, grandson to Vader. There's some interesting.
There's a lot of meat on that bone.
Right. So I think the idea of Kylo Ren is a lot more interesting than what we got. What we got was just like, all right. So like, I don't sit there and go like, oh yeah, man, they really, Kylo Ren. It's like, no. I mean, the idea of Kylo Ren's sweet.
Yeah.
But
so we're gonna play both sides of the fence on this one.
Okay.
So Bob Iger says, well, I don't understand it, so it's no. Well, you had a full script, so it's in there, right?
Well, I imagine they would explain how he came back
Right.
to life.
So when you say I don't understand, well, it's in the script. So therefore, you would understand
Right. Did you read the
because you
script?
wrote it.
Did you read the script,
Right.
though?
So I'm not buying that as an excuse of why they didn't do it. Like, that holds no water to me whatsoever. Because
Unless, again, I don't think Iger's reading the script.
no, because if you read the script, that had to be first line.
Right.
First paragraph, how he's returned.
Right.
And I'm sure you could say, hey, he evaporated into the Force. He gave his, but that doesn't mean he died. Like, we don't know, right? We could say, well, we don't know what the Force does
Again,
in
I
that
mean,
situation.
Not for nothing. He's heir apparent to some of the most powerful
Right.
Force users in the galaxy.
So, right. So if you say the Force reincarnated him and spit him back out, that wouldn't be far-fetched. That would not be
Right.
where you'd be
There
like,
are-
no, that can't happen. Well, of course it could happen.
There are ways to write him back in.
Right. So I'm not buying that Iger read the script and
No, he
didn't
read the
understand
script.
it.
He knows Kylo
Right.
dies, so because he must have saw the movie, and he's
Right.
just like, "Oh no, he's dead."
Right.
Dead is dead.
So, so again, we're gonna go back and forth. What did we know or what did Iger know that we didn't in 2021? He knew that the Rise of Skywalker lost money. We didn't just find this out until actually this month or this past month.
Right, because he had this. He
But
had the
he
paper.
knew,
he had the paper
right,
in front of
He
him.
knew that it made $1 billion and lost hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
So that's one thing that Iger knew that we didn't at that given time. But so I think that Iger was like, well,
It's a dead property.
it's a dead property. I don't want to invest any money into it because no one cares about the sequel. But then we have other YouTubers that are talking about, well, Star Wars is dead, right? Why would he want to do it? It's 2021, remember. In 2021, we had season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian.
Right.
If Star Wars was ever at its hottest for Disney Star Wars,
Season 2 of
it
The
was
Mandalorian.
then.
Yep.
right? But it was the original property that was hot. No one cares about the sequel property.
Right.
So again, as good as maybe, Adam Driver thought this movie would have been, that was not what was hot. Even Book of Boba Fett, I think, was out at that time. And again, you had the Luke meeting Ahsoka for the first time. So even though the Book of Boba Fett overall didn't do well, you had moments.
Right.
Like we talk about, there was moments in that were great Star Wars. For again, you had the Luke at the end of season 2. So you were also riding that wave of streaming.
Right.
So theater was dead. Streaming was what you were pushing. So again, Iger is looking at, I want stuff for streaming. That's why we've had 20 odd streaming shows since then,
Right.
and nothing theatrical.
Right. Zero theatrical.
So when you get these fans online and paid for a billboard in Times Square and bought a plane to fly over the studio, again, there is nothing in the sequel trilogy that tells you that this was a good movie for a character that was not compelling. And for Bob Iger's credit, I'm going to give him credit.
No, it's the right call.
Right, it's the right call, but Bob Iger is looking at it saying, there is no money in the sequel trilogy, and so, why am I going to continue now? I think that we're going to go back to possibly to the sequel trilogy with this Starfighter movie with Ryan Gosling that's coming out. But these fans all again with the Acolyte, you're signing a petition of like 5,000
Right.
people.
But what it is, I think, and for better or worse, it's the Snyder cut. Right. Is it cool that that got released? Yeah, it was cool to see what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I think it does more damage. Like, this is why studios don't do that after the fact, because it's like as soon as you give something like the Snyder Cut to fans, now they want restore the Snyderverse. Now they want release Ben Solo.
Right.
And it's like, these are not movements that are going to happen, right?
Right.
The Snyder Cut was already done for the most part, right? It needed some polish and stuff, but that's not a huge lift
No.
for the studio. Restoring the Snyderverse would be an insane lift for the studio. And it's a failing property anyway, so there's no purpose in doing that. Making the Ben Solo movie is a huge lift for Disney on a failed property.
Right. And you know, and to Bob Iger's credit, he's saying to Kathleen Kennedy, you had your chance and you fucked it up. Why should I now pay more for you to try to right your wrong?
We're not going to keep going down this rabbit hole.
Right. You could have made him a compelling character. You didn't. You failed in the 3 movies that you had with him there. At the end of the day, he died. And he died without being a compelling character. He didn't sell merchandise. He's not looked upon fondly all these years later. No one gives a shit. But yet, you've just got this small piece of the fandom that wants to... And this is, again, going back to what I said. You can like it, but you have to acknowledge that it's not good. No one's telling you can't like it.
I would take it even a step further, right? We were just at Rhode Island. We were just at a Comic-Con, right? And cosplayers are fans.
Right.
And what people dress up as is especially as someone like us who's kind of creative and, like, again, we're making things and we want to make things that people want to buy, right?
Right.
So what people are dressing up as is a good indicator for us of what's popular and what's not popular.
Right.
And what I saw for Star Wars, and again, there's not a ton of it.
Right.
But what I saw there was, I saw a Darth Vader, saw a Chewbacca, saw a couple Jedis, I saw some Ahsokas. I did.
Yeah.
And again, Rosario Dawson was there as well, so that I think that adds kind of an element to it. But that being said, like, Ahsoka as a character is fucking rad. So, like, you're not going to get
Ahsoka's also in the original trilogy, not the original George Lucas.
Right. So what I'm saying is, like, you're not going to get any hate. I'm not going to be like, oh, Ahsoka, what the fuck? Like, yeah, all right, that makes sense to me. All that jives. But you don't see any Kylo Rens.
No, never.
Never. And you don't see any. I saw some Darth Mauls.
Sure.
Right. That's what I'm saying is, like, you know, you don't see a lot of, if any, sequel characters.
No.
Like, Ahsoka's not a sequel character.
No.
Ahsoka's from the prequels.
Right. Right. Ahsoka's a George Lucas creation.
Right.
Not a Kathleen Kennedy Disney.
Right. So it's like, just judging on what people are wearing, right? And that doesn't count, like, the 501st goes, so sometimes maybe they'll have someone from the sequels. But if you really look at them, it's Stormtroopers and Vader and, you know.
Boba Fett.
Right. It's and you see a lot of Boba Fett's and stuff, and, like, but, you know, and maybe some Mandalorian. Like, that might be the only, you know, Disney property that you kind of see.
But again, it's from the original trilogy era.
Yeah, the idea of it.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's, even though it's Disney Star Wars, where it's located in the timeline is with Luke, like, and Leia and Han.
There's no Rays. I didn't see any Rays walking around. I didn't see any Finns walking around. I didn't see any Poes walking around. Like, that's really telling, is that even if you want to sit there and say, like, hey, you two old fucks are wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, the sequel movies are great, the Disney Star Wars universe is great, fine. But explain to me why we don't see anybody dressing up as any of those characters.
Right, but again, you can't just say they're great because facts show they aren't. You can say you love them,
right?
And that's great for you.
Listen, if you love the sequel trilogies, good on you.
Right,
more power to you.
And that's what I'm saying. You have to be able to live in reality to say, I know this movie is not good and or well received, but I personally like it. But
it's the same
I'm
thing.
not going to argue that it is good,
right,
when I know for facts it's not.
It's the same thing as me giving The Witcher season 4 a 5, right? I don't want to give it a 5. I want to give it a 1 because I hate what they did to a property I care about.
Right.
But the objective way to be is to give it a 5 because that's what it is.
Right.
Whether I want it to be a 5 or not, it's a 5.
Right, and that's the thing is you can't just blatantly say everything sucks, or you can't just blatantly say it's great when it's not, and there's evidence to support the not. Like again, if the Rise of Skywalker lost money, then ultimately it's a failure. But if you like it, that's fine. But you can't go around sitting there telling people they're wrong if they say it's a failure, because it is a failure. But you happen to love it, and that's cool. And if you like Kylo Ren and you think he's a well done, well thought out character, and there's, and again, do I think, as we just said, there's meat on that bone? Absolutely. And maybe that movie would have been stellar, because maybe without Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni actually being a part of it, it was a good, well-written script. And maybe it would have been a killer movie. I don't know, but I'm not willing to take that chance.
Right. There's only so many more nails in the coffin you can put.
Exactly.
And, it's very difficult because, like I said, I think that, I hesitate to say toxic fandom, right? Because I don't believe that, if you're passionate about something one way or the other, that makes you toxic.
Right. Absolutely.
But I think we have to be, fair to properties too. And this goes on both sides of the aisle.
Right.
If The Witcher season 4 is a 5, accept that it's a 5, accept that it's not the worst piece of shit that anyone has ever made. It's just not what we wanted out of The Witcher.
Right.
If Star Wars is a 6, it's a 6. It's not what you wanted out of Star Wars. It's not what we wanted as fans of Star Wars from fucking 40 years ago. It's not what we wanted.
Right.
Right? You don't have to say that it's great. Just like you don't have to say that it's a complete dumpster fire.
Right.
There are good elements, but overall, this is not the direction we want to see The Witcher go. This is not the direction we want to see Star Wars go. There's cool moments, but the overarching plot, story, characters are not where they need to be for these kind of properties.
Right. And, again, as you said, a big telltale sign is cosplay, right? That's a big telltale sign of what's popular and what's not popular. And the other thing would be merchandise. Star Wars, the sequel trilogy, sells 0 merchandise. But the original trilogy and the prequels still sell merchandise. And it's still very lucrative of selling of that merchandise. So, though, and like you said, the original trilogy characters were there, but there's no sequel trilogy characters there. So all the indicators that you need to gauge show you what actual, the majority of fans feel about these properties. And you can't just blatantly say, well, I disregard every piece of factual evidence that there is because my feelings are this.
Right. It's one thing to say, hey, I really like the sequels. It sucks that they weren't really well received. That's fine.
Right.
You want to take that standpoint. That's fine. But don't lie to yourself.
Exactly.
And don't lie to other people and say that these are the greatest
Right.
Star Wars
and then
stories
don't be
we've ever
offended
gotten.
when other people call you out on the lie that you're telling.
Right.
Again, if you want to
But
just
again-
say I like
but
it,
again,
that's fine.
That's a two-way street because again, I say The Witcher's a 5, and a lot of the rage baiters that are on YouTube say that it's a 1.
yeah,
And-
but they say everything's a 1
right, but
because they're rage baiters.
But that's part of the problem.
Right.
That's
Oh, I
part of the
totally
problem.
agree.
And all that does is it gives these creators fuel, right? To disregard someone like me saying, "Yeah, The Witcher was a 5." Like you know, you could have done. You dropped the ball. But if all they're hearing is, "Oh, The Witcher's a 1," it's not a 1. Objectively, it's not a 1.
Right.
And so that's all they're going to latch onto is that every negative criticism of The Witcher is, oh, they're just saying it's a 1, and we all know it's not a 1, so we disregard all of the negative criticism, and it's actually great.
right.
So you're giving fuel to these creators both ways. And if you're saying Star Wars is the greatest thing ever, they're going to take that and latch on to that. You can't, you got to be objective to a degree. It's okay to say that Star Wars, again, like you said, there's good elements in even The Acolyte. There's good elements in the show.
Right.
But it's a shitty show.
Right. You can't sit there and try to convince somebody that the show isn't horrible based upon the ratings prove that they are.
Right.
But if it's your thing and you like it, that's cool.
Yeah, no hate on you, but,
Right.
Again, live in reality
Right.
a little bit.
You have to.
Live in the reality of flying a plane over Disney headquarters saying, release the Ben Solo movie.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
No, I mean, how do you think that is going to work for you as far as, do you think that Bob Iger looked out his window, saw that, and had a change of heart? Like, did you really think that was going to do something? It's ridiculous.
Right. It's the wrong way to try to move the mountain.
Right.
You move the mountain by giving fair critiques and not allowing them to call you toxic. Okay?
Right.
I don't think anyone who's listened to my Witcher critique can say that it's a toxic take.
Nope.
I'm not shitting on. I'm in support of the Siri relationship. I'm in support of the way the way the actors are portraying the characters is all fine. I don't like the writing. I think it goes against the story.
Right.
There's nothing toxic about what I'm saying. I'm not shitting on. Oh, the girls are fight like none of that.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it's a 5.
Right.
Which, if I'm Netflix, I'm going for a property that big to get a 5. That's a fucking fail.
Right. And that's the key. Just like with all the Disney Star Wars shows, the viewership numbers show their failures. Again, you can't just sit there and say, well, 5,000 people signed a petition that says that
Yeah, but
millions of people
right,
are wrong.
What's 5,000 people?
Nothing. That's what I'm talking about. Like this whole thing with release this Ben Solo thing. There's nobody there to support that.
But the other element is that, as a studio, you can't rely on beats. You can't rely on, oh, well, this moment is cool as shit. Like Vader pulling the fucking ship down
Right.
in Obi-Wan. Yeah, that's cool. But that's not enough to keep me fucking watching the show or thinking the show is good. It's
No.
like, yeah, that moment, that panel is a cool panel in a shitty comic.
But the thing is, all people are going to do is, somebody's going to watch it, and if there's a cool moment, you will look at it on YouTube for that specific moment. You're not going to watch the show to see that moment. You'll go on YouTube, look at that specific moment because you're being told that's the only cool thing that happened in the course of this show. So yes, people are going to watch that, which doesn't count to your viewership, and they're going to say, yeah, that was cool. That was a cool moment, but I'm not going to spend 8 hours, 10 hours watching the rest of it, which is dog shit.
But that's the other half of why the Ben, release the Ben Solo thing is so dangerous, because the other fuel that it gives creators is, because I think both of us are in agreement, and if you're listening, let us know in the comments if you think we're wrong. Both of us agree that that's a terrible idea.
Right.
Right. But because these fans are doing this and signing the petitions and flying the flag and renting the billboard, that gives Disney or any creators the fuel to say, we cannot listen to the fans. They do not know what is right for the business.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately, when you do have, and I'm not saying it's you and me. I'm not saying you and I have it all figured out
right.
or anything like that. But I'm saying when there is a fan sentiment that is good, they're going to disregard it because of things like this.
Right.
It's like, hey, this might be a good idea, yeah, but remember the whole Ben Solo thing? Like, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Right. But then, I want, again, circle back to the beginning of this cast. When I said I may not have loved Weapons, but the direction, what he's doing. So, again, I don't want him to change course in what he's doing, because maybe the next one hits for me. Right? I mean, this hit for everybody else, but maybe the next one he puts out hits for me and hits for more people. So I don't want you to stop the direction you're going down. But if everybody, if everybody says everything always sucks, then they're going to stop doing these directions, and something great we might have gotten, we no longer are going to get. And what we're going to get is something safe, and that's going to be, well, it's okay.
Or they're just going to totally disregard any fan input.
Mm-hmm.
And any shred of input that could make something better is going to get totally wiped out.
Right.
So that's the thing. That's why I think you have to really, earnestly choose your battles.
Yep.
And realize, what has a chance. Restore the Snyderverse, never going to happen.
No.
Ben Solo movie, never going to happen. And all that noise does is tell Disney or Warner Brothers, the fans don't know what they're talking about. We can never listen to any fan input. And then ultimately, even when fan input is merited, it gets ignored.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that's where I think we're at with it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
All right. Well, with that one, let's put this one to bed. Jim, as always, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
What do you got going on?
Just getting that art out. We got a new piece of a new comic out. So if anybody's interested, head on over to Webtoons. Look up Jim F0123 art. We got a new comic that we just dropped called Greetings from Seabrook. So check it out and let me know what you think of the first part of it, and let me know if we want to see more of it.
Well, we do.
Yes.
All right, guys, that's episode 120 of the cast. You know where we're at. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. CatalystCrafting.com is the website. We're going to be at New England Comic Con in Boxborough, Massachusetts, the 29th or 28th, 29th, 30th of November. So if you're in the area, come check us out. Get yourself some Christmas presents that you can't get on Amazon.
That's exactly right.
And then that's going to wrap con season for us. But what do you guys think? Do you think Weapons... Is Jim wrong? I'm saying he is. But
most people would agree with you.
Is Jim wrong on Weapons? Is Weapons great? Is Weapons just... Is Jim right? Is Weapons just kind of mediocre and it's just getting a lot of hype? Is Frankenstein the movie of the year? What did you think of 28 Days Later? 28 years later? Were you upset by the ending? Are you less upset because there's clearly going to be a sequel in 4 months? Did you watch The Witcher Season 4? Is it a 1? Is it a 5? Is it a 10?
It could be all of them.
Could be all. Yeah, it's just a fucking 16. I don't know. And what are your thoughts on fan input, the hunt for Ben Solo, and, you know, sort of fans trying to critique more carefully to get the attention of these movie studios? Let us know in the comments. All right, crew. We'll catch you on the next one.